Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the world of S&P Global. Now I know you might be thinking, S&P Global, isn't that all about credit ratings?
Yeah, you're not wrong, but there's
Yeah,
so much more to them.
there's got to be more than that.
We're going way beyond just credit ratings in this deep dive. We've actually got a stack of their annual reports from 2020 to 2023. And to top it off, a transcript from their Q2 2024 earnings call.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, these documents paint a picture of a company that is anything but static.
Oh, really?
We're talking about a company that's been around since 1860.
Wow.
They were literally documenting the rise of the railroad industry.
1860. That's incredible. That's older than sliced bread.
I know, right?
But that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're going to uncover how S&P Global has not just survived for over a century and a half, but thrived.
Exactly.
And trust me, you'll want to stick around because by the end of this, you'll have a whole new perspective on this financial powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So are you ready to uncover the layers of S&P Global?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. S&P Global operates across four key segments. And we'll start with what's probably the most familiar, S&P Global Ratings. It's the foundation of their reputation, but it's crucial to remember this is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Okay, so it's like the tip of the iceberg, but even that tip is pretty massive.
Huge.
They're a global force when it comes to credit ratings.
Exactly. And they're strategically expanding that reach. For example, in 2020, they made a really savvy move by expanding into China's bond market. Think about the potential there. Tapping into one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies.
Huge potential.
That's not just about staying ahead of the game, it's about shaping the future of financial markets.
Yeah, talk about a power move. But S&P Global isn't just about analyzing economies. They're also diving deep into data itself with S&P Global Market Intelligence. This segment is like the ultimate information hub for finance professionals.
It's more than just a hub, it's the engine room. We're talking a treasure trove of data, analytics, and insights that professionals rely on to make billion-dollar decisions.
Wow.
And it's not just raw data, it's about connecting the dots and providing actionable intelligence.
Okay, so we've got credit ratings and market intelligence. What's next in the S&P Global universe?
Next, we venture into the fast-paced world of commodities with S&P Global Platts. This is where you go to get a pulse on the global flow of oil, gas, metals. Basically anything and everything that makes the world go round.
So they're like the ultimate commodity whisperers, keeping their fingers on the pulse in the market.
And they're not just whispering, they're adapting at lightning speed. Take their recent launch of new price assessments for beef and poultry in Q2 of 2024.
Interesting.
The world is demanding more protein, and S&P Global Platts is right there analyzing these evolving markets.
I like it. They're not afraid to expand their expertise and stay ahead of the curve. Now let's talk about those iconic benchmarks that have become synonymous with market movements. The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Right.
Both housed under S&P Dow Jones indices.
Right.
These aren't just numbers. They're woven into the fabric of the financial world.
You said it. In 2021, they celebrated some major milestones. 125 years for the Dow Jones Industrial Average and 65 years for the S&P 500. That's a legacy built on trust and reliability, a testament to their enduring relevance in a constantly changing financial landscape.
Yeah, it's clear that S&P Global is a company with its fingers in a lot of pies, and they've got the history to back it up. But we're not just looking at the past. We're here to dissect their present and future. So how is S&P Global navigating the often turbulent waters of today's global economy? Well, looking at their 2022 and 2023 reports, it definitely seems like there were some economic speed bumps along the way. But S&P Global, they seem to be cruising right along. What's their secret? How do they navigate these choppy waters so effectively?
Well, they've got a really smart blend of strategies that they use, but I think it all starts with a relentless focus on innovation. In their 2022 report, they actually introduced something called the Vitality Index, and it's essentially a way for them to measure their innovation efforts and see how these new ideas translate into actual revenue.
Oh, wow. So they're not just innovating for the sake of it. They're making sure that those innovations actually have a financial impact.
Exactly. And they're focusing that innovation on what they call transformational areas,
Okay.
which are essentially like their fast track to future growth.
What are those? What are they focusing on?
So their CEO highlighted two key areas in that 2022 report: private markets and sustainability.
Interesting.
So let's start with private markets. They see huge growth potential in this area. We're talking billions of dollars here, and their revenue projections support that.
Wow. What makes them so well positioned for success in private markets?
Well, they're already there. They're serving private equity clients, they're offering private company data, they're even providing ratings and assessments for private entities. So they're not starting from scratch here. They're building on an already solid foundation.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, what about sustainability? That's something that every company seems to be talking about these days. How is S&P Global making its mark in that space?
Yeah, they're not just talking the talk. They've actually created a dedicated business called Sustainable One.
Okay.
Think of it as their ESG headquarters. It houses all of their sustainability-focused products and services.
And how much growth are we talking about in that area? Is it significant?
Get this. They're projecting a 34% compounded annual growth rate in their sustainability sector until 2026.
Wow.
So they are clearly seeing ESG as a major player in the future of finance.
Yeah, 34%. That's incredible. So they're covering innovation, they're in private markets, they're all over sustainability, but none of that works without a really solid foundation. What's underpinning all of this for them?
Well, data and technology are really the cornerstones of S&P Global's strategy. They know that in today's world, data is king, and they are investing heavily in making sure that they stay ahead of the curve.
Especially when they think about artificial intelligence. AI seems to be everywhere these days.
Absolutely. In fact, in the 2023 report, their CEO called AI a game changer. They're using it to develop really cutting-edge tools and deliver even more powerful insights to their clients.
Do you have an example of maybe how they're actually using AI?
Yeah, so they actually just recently launched Chat AI on their Platts Connect platform. It was highlighted in the Q2 2024 earnings call. And essentially what it is imagine having a conversation with an AI that can instantly pull up the exact data you need from a massive database. That's Chat AI.
That sounds incredibly powerful. It's like having a team of research analysts at your beck and call.
Precisely. And that's what sets S&P Global apart. They're not just providing the data, they're making it accessible and insightful.
So we've talked about their strategic vision, but how does that actually translate to their bottom line? How are they performing financially?
One phrase from that Q2 2024 earnings call transcript sums it up perfectly. Incredible first half of 2024. We're talking record-breaking performance here.
Well, that definitely piques my interest. Break it down for us. What are the key takeaways from their financials?
Incredible is a pretty bold statement even for a financial giant like S&P Global.
It is.
So give us the numbers. What makes their performance so noteworthy?
Well, they didn't just break records, they obliterated them. They actually achieved their highest quarterly adjusted EPS in the company's history.
Wow.
And, just a quick reminder for our listeners, adjusted EPS is a way to measure profitability that gives a clearer picture. It factors out any, one-time gains or losses.
So no funny business there.
Yeah.
This is solid core profitability. But where is all this revenue growth coming from? It's a really interesting two-pronged success story for them. They've got this powerful combination of transaction revenue and subscription revenue. So transaction revenue, especially from S&P Global Ratings, got a nice boost from a surge in market activity. I think, debt issuances, mergers, acquisitions, all those activities that require a credit rating.
So they're riding the wave of a hot market.
Exactly.
But we know those waves can subside. What about that steady and stable subscription revenue?
Yeah, that's been growing steadily thanks to, I think, the ever-increasing demand for data and analytics products. These are the tools that financial professionals rely on day in and day out, regardless of what's going on in the market.
It's like having a diversified portfolio.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You've got that growth, but you also have that stability. But strong revenue alone doesn't tell the whole story. How are they managing their expenses?
Well, this is where the discipline really shines through. Despite economic uncertainties and despite making these strategic investments in these new growth areas, they've actually managed to achieve really significant margin expansion.
Okay, so what does that mean for people who aren't financial experts?
Yeah, so essentially it means that they're keeping a larger chunk of their revenue as profit.
Oh, okay, got it. So it sounds like they're running a pretty tight ship, but even the most well-managed companies often face some challenges. What would you say are some potential headwinds that S&P Global might be facing?
Well, the CEO actually acknowledged in the earnings call that interest rates are a key factor to watch. Fluctuations in interest rates could impact their business volume, especially in their rating segment. For example, if interest rates rise, companies might be less likely to issue new debt, which of course directly affects S&P Global Ratings.
So they're not immune to macroeconomic forces.
No, they're not.
But they have weathered the storms before, haven't they?
They have, and S&P Global has a really remarkable track record of not only surviving, but thriving in the face of uncertainty. And, they're approaching the future with, I'd say, a balanced outlook. Optimistic about the opportunities ahead, but also realistic about potential challenges.
Okay, so we've covered this really impressive past that they have and their very strong present. What's next for S&P Global? What does the future hold?
Well, continued growth is definitely at the heart of their strategy. They're doubling down on those transformational areas that we talked about:
Mm-hmm.
private markets, sustainability, and data and technology. And they really see these as the engines that are going to drive their future success.
They're not just adapting to change, they're actively shaping the future of finance.
Precisely. And through it all, they remain committed to delivering long-term value for their stakeholders. It's really woven into the fabric of their company culture, and it's reflected in every action that they take.
Well, this deep dive has certainly painted a really vivid picture of a dynamic and evolving company. S&P Global, it's much more than just a credit rating agency. They're a data powerhouse, a sustainability champion, and a technological innovator.
They really are.
And they've shown us that in the world of finance, knowledge is power, and they're masters at harnessing the power of information.
I completely agree.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to ponder. In the 2020 report, there's a fascinating section about how past leaders of S&P Global navigated some major historical events like the Great Depression and World War II. And it got me thinking, how might that legacy of resilience that they have be informing their current strategies? It's just something to think about as you maybe explore some of those source materials.
Yeah, it's a great point. History often provides really valuable lessons for navigating the present and the future.
Couldn't agree more. A huge thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of S&P Global. I hope you found it insightful and engaging. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.